Good evening. Welcome, welcome. Very happy to be here casting some week 6 games from Supply Block Party versus Shift Clique. Hope you're looking forward to the games. We're going to be starting off with some Tier 3 matches. First with Breeze versus Rennac, followed by Silverwolf 2135, Silverwolf 2135 versus Jakester 897. We'll take a short break after that and then dig into tier 0 of Killer Ace versus Topman, Raz versus Doodle Doodle, Type 100 versus Worst. So we're going to have some very good games coming up. I'll just make the lobby and we can dig right in to the first series of Breeze versus Rennac. Just make sure I can find those. I hope you're all having a wonderful Saturday evening. Hopefully surrounded by family and having a good restful weekend before the Christmas week starts up. So I have the first game here ready. And here we are. Breeze versus Rennac starting out on Butter. Game 2 would be on Deja Vu. Game 3 would be on Radeon if we get that far. We shall see. Of course, as always, anyone in the chat, if there are any issues with audio, if it's too quiet, if things need rebalancing, please let me know. As I couldn't be doing this without you. And yeah, we're getting stuck into it. This is my now second CPL cast. I enjoyed it so much yesterday, and folks were such a good audience that I decided to do it again today. So here, in fact, I know we all love it. Let me put on a little bit of Brood War music in the background as well. Give us some atmosphere. So, starting game 1 of the series between Rennac and Breeze. In the top right hand corner here we have as the black Zerg Rennac. In the bottom right corner as the pink Protoss we have Breeze. Breeze playing for Supply Block Party, Rennac playing for Shift Clique. Breeze already starting with the glorious spam of 600 APM. We'll see if that serves him well going into the game and if he can keep that up. Always fun to see how APM stabilizes as it goes through. But it looks like he's doing the normal, building a forward pylon in his natural, and going in a very early scout. Of course, this is a 2-player map, so not always completely necessary to scout straight after pylon, but it will give him early scouting information to let him know what's up. Looks like he's moving out with his second probe into his natural now. Left hand side probably going to be a forge that goes up. So a nice and safe standard opener from Breeze. Looks like it was an overpull from Rennac. Both playing it pretty easy. Of course, Rennac knows that he's being watched, so we'll see how he deals with things. Of course, an Overlord going across the map will see the Forge first once he gets there. Maybe this will influence how many Lings Rennac makes, maybe it won't. We'll wait and see. So yes, I had a very good time. Oh no, Rennac, his own embarrassing mistake. We'll gloss over it. Don't worry about it. We're here to have a good time and make sure we highlight the best of the games, not focus on anything that could have gone better, particularly. So yes, I had such a good time yesterday casting the tier 2 matches of Metallica and Barcode. I couldn't help myself. I mean, it's already quite late here. It's a little bit, I think it's 11:30 right now. So the cast is going to be going on quite late. Pylon in the wall from Breeze. A little bit unusual, but there we go. We already have a cannon up. He's seen the lings coming across the probe, hasn't yet confirmed the exact number of lings. In fact, these lings managed to dodge that probe entirely, so the probe's arriving at his natural. Might be a complete surprise. Two waiting behind, maybe hoping to deny additional scouting. Hatchery going back in the net, down in the natural. It seems like the Overlord scouted the cannon, so the initial two lings have turned their tail a little bit and decided to change their attention towards the scouting probe. So gateway now going down in the natural as well. A little bit of an unorthodox walling setup. Normally we'd see a forge with a gateway. I need to be so careful not to click on things as it does freeze the replay. Normally we'd see a forge here with a gateway next to it, but it doesn't seem to be thus far causing any issues. Third base coming up on the right hand side from Rennac. I quite like this base as it has only a short choke on the right hand side, unless of course the opponent goes all the way around. I find it a little bit easier to defend. It also is a little bit further forward, so it opens up the possibility to be a little bit more aggressive as a Zerg player. Lair going up in Renac's base. Nexus almost done, and the natural of Breeze. Nice that the probe's already transferring, possibly a few too many, but nonetheless going to get saturated at the natural very quickly, making sure that new base jumps into activity as quickly as possible. So we'll see in a moment what Rennac is hoping to do with this lair technology. Oh no, I have Rennac in the chat. In fact, I could possibly bring Twitch chat into the stream. I might try and do that for the next game. He shared with us that he accidentally pulled all of his drones trying to build the pool. That's something that happens. It's okay. So what do we have going on here in the production tab? So we have +1 weapons, second gateway, possibly just for a moment, that's now been cancelled, instead electing for another cannon to go up in the natural. That gateway now going down, gas up in the natural. Also, we almost have enough money for either a Citadel or a Stargate, possibly a Citadel going up given the large number of gates that have already gone down. Nice drone production from Rennac so far, really making sure that he can get all the money possible that his bases allow. Spire going up, so it looks like we're possibly going to be having Mutilus play, or otherwise perhaps just preparing for Corsairs coming across the map and being annoying by facilitating himself to build some Scourge. Dragoon out from Breeze. This, although it does stop Rennac from being able to scout that there are 3 gateways here, often when you see a Protoss building a Dragoon like this, it is a telltale sign that something fishy is going on, particularly 2 goons. It's very unusual to see 2 goons at this stage. Usually you just see Zealots, but as I said, it does block scouting, and although it indicates to the Zerg that there is something fishy going on, the Zerg won't be able to confirm exactly what that is. It could be a number of things. It could be, something crazy like 2 gate, 2 robo. In this case, it's just a lot of early gateways. No Citadel, no Stargate. Gas is going up. Maybe we didn't need the second gas in the natural just yet, but nonetheless, that's going to be being banked up. Yes, Silverwolf in the chat. We're going to be sharing your games straight after this series. This is game 1 of Breeze versus Rennac. So once we see how this series goes through, then we'll be checking out your game also. So faster Overlord movement coming through, some Mutilus being produced also, some goons coming across the map. Very odd move out. Again, not something you normally see, but it looks like it's being effective as there wasn't anything to detect that this move out was occurring. You might often see Lings or something of the like outside a Protoss base to alert a Zerg as things are going over, because of course you want to be as greedy as possible with drones. And now 7 goons and a zealot already in Rennac's base, taking down these sunken colony, these creep colonies before they can convert into sunken colonies. So causing a lot of damage, causing a lot of havoc, taking out overlords, putting damage down on all sorts of things. A few hydras coming out. I'm not sure if they're going to be enough. What's going on? There's a few mutalisks around the place, but they're not going to do much against dragoons. So although this is very unorthodox unit composition for this stage in the game, it's doing a lot of damage. It seems like Breeze is just going to be continuing pumping out dragoons. He's getting +1 armor at home, but I'm not sure if Rennac is going to have any answer for these goons that are just about to take out his natural base. He's building another Hydralisk den in his main base. Hydra's currently popping out and immediately getting destroyed. I'm not sure how much longer this is going to go on. A very sneaky build from Breeze to crank out a large number of gateways so early on in the game, when normally we'd expect investment to be going into Stargates, to be going into Citadel. Instead, he decided, you know what, I'm just going to build a dozen goons and send them across the map. So a nice build order choice from Breeze, very tricky. Certainly do not blame Rennac for not reacting well to this. It's rather unusual and certainly was designed to catch him off guard, and definitely that's what happened. So yes, telltale signs for next time would be the Dragoon. First Dragoon, especially straight after a Zealot, indicates that there's something fishy going on. That combined with the move out timing, I mean, at that point it's probably even just worth it to sack an Overlord, even if you lose it. So let me transition back to camera here so that I don't spoil the next game as I'm pulling that up, and I'll also do the good thing of updating the scoreboard. So that is Breeze going up 1-0 against Rennac in this first series that we're casting of Supply Block Party versus Shift Clique in Tier 3. So that's game 2 ready. I can transition back. So yesterday I was having a lot of issues with the scoreboard resetting between games, and I found out why that was. It was because it wasn't on every scene. So if it isn't on the scene, it will disappear. Maybe that's good to know for other CPL casters. You need that scoreboard on every single scene in order for it to retain information going from one game to the next. Things we learn. So, game 2. Currently down 0-1, maybe feeling a little bit of pressure. Hopefully able to bring back a win here. Rennac as the red Zerg at the 3 o'clock position. Breeze picking once again the pink color, maybe his favorite color to play with, as the Protoss in the what we call the 7 o'clock position. So once again, fairly normal, at least to the time being. Putting a pylon out the front and scouting straight away with that probe. Now I very much understand this sort of habit of pushing out the probe immediately, even on 2 and 3 player maps. There's so much PTSD that Protoss players go through of just losing to early lings that it's, you know, it feels like a worthwhile trade-off to just get that scout going as soon as possible, so that you can be exactly certain of what's going on. So it is going to be a Forge opener once again. Looks like another overpull from Rennac. So mirroring what we just had in the last game, and we'll see if the outcome is mirrored also. I see in the chat Rennac sharing that His first match nerves were worse than expected. That's a very common aspect, honestly. I think that's one of the nice things about CPL also is that it gives you that experience of playing in a it's not a super serious match, only as much as you put into it, but it is a official match in some regard. So there's definitely nerves at play. It's something we all have to learn to adapt to. Some of our fellow gamers might drink bottles of monkey shoulder before their games. I'm not sure if that's necessarily to combat the nerves or just for sheer enjoyment. But yes, indeed, nerves are definitely play a factor when playing these official matches. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's something we have to go through. It's the same as going up and standing on stage and talking in front of a crowd of people. Um, the performance anxiety is definitely a factor. Um, for I know for public speaking, what some people will often do is try and take a powerful stance before going out to speak. They're standing with their feet wide apart, with their chest puffed out, and just taking some deep breaths. Even I mean, it's very particular to speaking, and they might do some vocal warm-up exercises and things like that. And personally, I found very much that to be beneficial with Brood War also, making sure that there's enough time before a game to, sit down, get comfortable at the station, and making sure my legs aren't crossed or anything, with feet wide apart and positioned well on the floor. And it's a nice aspect of biology of just that your emotions and your mentality mirror your body as much as your body mirrors your mentality and your emotions. So if you take a stance of someone who's confident, then it incidentally encourages you to be more confident also. Um, so I mean, we have other people in the chat chiming in now saying that, yeah, sometimes temper um, uh, and getting fed up with the game and frustrated. That's definitely another aspect too. I mean, just earlier today, I was streaming some ladder, and halfway through, I was just exhausted, and it's really hard to keep a good mental game whilst playing again, particularly in official matches, and that's honestly half the battle a lot of the time. So whilst this is a game of fine mechanics and strategy, it any competitive game takes a lot in regards to that keeping a good mental state whilst playing and maintaining confidence without arrogance. And yeah, I mean, all the small decisions that we make in these games are subject to the emotions that we're feeling at the time. So it's a good experience, and I do think that playing in a competitive capacity develops us not only in our ability to play StarCraft, but of course outside of that. And hopefully we can take those learnings into other aspects of our lives as well. So I've been rambling on about all sorts of things, and we've been looking at the game, but not particularly talking about it. So we currently have 4 hatcheries up from Rennac, with a Hydra Den and 2 sunken colonies this time. Absolutely certain that he is not going to die to a Dragoon push in a similar manner. 2 cannons up for Breeze, which at this time is okay. I'm not sure if he would be able to survive from a 973 right now. I'm not sure if he would be aware if there was a 973 happening, but Rennac is only on 2 bases, so that is usually an indicator that there's a lot of aggression about to come across the map. And we have missile attacks coming, hydraulic speed coming as well, so that's really showing that there's going to be a strong hydraulic push coming. So maybe these 2 cannons won't quite cut it. Of course, also hydraulics on the top side here will be able to shoot this gateway down and make a big hole for themselves to advance into the base. Of course, without having a lot of cannons as well, this has afforded Breeze to have more money to build gateways. It's a trade-off that in PvZ is always something to have in mind. The more defensive structures you build, the less gateways you can have, and that slows down your ability to boom and get out on the map, and particularly break out ahead of things like lurk and contains and things like that. So we have Goon Range coming out earlier than we often see it, but also being married with Zealot Legs for movement speed, and Psystorm, which is going to be incredibly important for holding off a large number of Hydras coming across the map. We'll see if Storm is able to get done in time. It seems like +1 weapons has already finished. We do have a Corsair out, which should be checking to see what's happening. It's critical that Corsair goes immediately to the main base to firstly check if there's Mutalisk coming. Should be ignoring this Overlord and really just identifying what the Zerg is doing, because you need to be very reactive in this stage of the game. It seems like he has enough Zealots to push back this group of Hydras, more coming in from the top side, whilst the Corsair is wailing on this Overlord. It looks like he will be able to pick that Overlord off. Storm about to finish, +1 armor has started as well, +1 ground weapons. No, sorry, attack range, that is. I'm not very familiar with the Zerg icons. We have missile attacks and Hydralisk attack range coming up. Storm has just finished, though there's only 2 Hydras at this time, so not much cause to use it at this in this moment. I have a few Lings, a few Hydras, things about. I would like to see Rennac, since his Hydra push didn't particularly do so much damage, starting to, there we go, look into getting a 3rd base, which is exactly what he does. So we do have a layer up, Kadaran Amulet coming up for Protoss as well, starting to switch into Goons. Goons are great, particularly against lurkers. They don't do super well on their own against Hydralisk. They really need a Zealot buffer, and we've already lost our Zealots, so we'll be looking to get a good mix of Zealots and Goons to go into the next phase of the game. We do have some minerals accumulating for Breeze. We have currently 5 gateways on 2 base at this stage. 7 gateways, I understand, is the ideal sort of number for macro. Of course, if you do miss macro cycles, as most of us do, then even going up to 8 gateways can be fine, especially when there are very micro heavy moments. So it looks like we are moving out with Dragoons, maybe even able to pick out 2 of these Overlords, which is potentially going to cause Rennac a little bit of a headache. It seems like he's keeping track in general, maybe a bad rally, sending drones across the map as well. A little bit unfortunate, but I think that's a hangover of earlier where he was planning to do a Hydra heavy attack. So we do have some drones coming to saturate the 3rd base now. That's nice. As the attack failed, I think it's only right to really try and get greedy in economy at this moment. Aggression didn't work in the early game, and that came with the sacrifice of economy. So making sure we catch up in that to get into the mid game and be able to contend the Protoss force that is now almost in full factory mode of cranking out units. Again, a full squad of Goons here, supported by a single High Templar. Personally, I would like to see some Zealots in here, but it looks like Breeze has a high favoring for the Goon composition based on what we saw last game. Also, once again, Rennac not particularly seeing this move out coming across the map, so getting caught a little bit by surprise. We'll see the Archon goes down. That was the big damage soaker of the army. Some Hydras trying to flee to behind their wall, but getting picked off in the process and getting pulled back into battle several times means that of those Hydras that ran, only 2 of them survived. So potentially would have been better just to stand and fight in that moment. but definitely empathize that we don't know the size of the force that's coming. It looks like lurkers are starting to be produced 7 at a time at the moment. Back in Breeze's base, we have another couple gateways going down. This Hydralisk den was threatened and destroyed, so Rennac isn't going to be able to build any more Hydras for the time being, which could cause issue. Hopefully he can use these lurkers to stabilize going into the next few moments. It looks like he is going to get a bit of a surround on these goons. Hopefully be able to protect his drone line at his third as well. There we go. Breeze being forced to push back and a regroup. He does have other forces across the map, but at this stage he doesn't have an observatory or observers out to be able to see and detect those lurkers. So normally, I believe, and I might be wrong in this, it's good to get a robotics facility just after your first 4 High Templar at around 9:30. Even, as I understand, just before you get range. So a robo and then range after storm. If there's any um, um, better informed people in the chat, please do feel free to correct this, but that's my personal gauge on things, is that I should be trying to build a robotics facility around 9:30. So we still have that course there. It could be doing a little bit more to go around the map and scout these bases. Zerga have, because hatcheries are so cheap, Zerga often will have a sneaky base hidden somewhere around the place. I like that he's able to catch this Overlord. This removes Rennac's ability to see whether or not he's getting a third base, and really disguises how aggressive he might be looking to be. Now, Breeze's force is getting quite substantial. He started to add zealots in. Of course, we'll see if he's able to make sure that those zealots don't get absolutely um, obliterated by lurkers, as lurkers are very strong against zealots, but zealots are very good against hydras. So there's a really nice micro back and forth between Protoss and Zerg in these moments where, the goons are trying to shoot the lurkers, the hydras are trying to shoot the goons, the zealots are trying to get the hydras, we're trying to do storms in the meantime, there's observers and overlords going backwards and forth trying to fight for the ability to see or deny the visibility of lurkers. It looks like Breeze is getting ready to move out. A lot of money in the bank for Breeze. It's okay to just throw down extra gateways. If you have this much money, just throw down a bunch of gateways, build 5 pylons at a time. Money in the bank is money not spent, and it could be money on the field in one way or another. So never hesitate just to throw down extra gateways if you feel like you need to, or if you feel like you have the bank to. So attacking up this ramp, which means that Rennac is going to have an advantage in the fight with some miss percent chances. Overlords deciding that they want to get involved as well, soaking up some shots, some nice storms from Breeze starting things off. Lurkers on the high ground as well. But Hydra's attacking in front of the lurkers means that lurkers weren't really able to aid in the defense of the high ground. Sort of just going in piecewise at the moment. It's very important to have those Hydras near to the lurkers, and really when they start getting attacked by dragoons, I believe there's still no observers, so there's not a lot that Breeze can do with regards to pushing forwards. And I understand that the overlords were there to spot any observers, and maybe I missed one being killed. If so, then it would have been a great move by Rennac, but if I'm not missing anything, then I don't believe there were observers in that fight, but if there were, then apologies. I'm only human. Looks like Rennac is getting up a 4th base now, which is wonderful. Breeze should really be thinking about his 3rd base. His natural minerals are starting to mine out. I love that Rennac has this Ling here to inform him, and even just be annoying. If a probe comes up here by itself, then it will get taken out. And overall, I mean, it really just provides a nice indication of the game state to him of when a 3rd base is being taken. So Although there's a low drone count, Rennac is keeping his money very low, which is great to see. Of course, he has a lot of hatcheries. Looks like he's going up to Hive now, so we'll see how that comes into effect. Melee attacks being started, so it looks like he's thinking about switching up into a Zergling Defiler composition, which against this goon-heavy force will be incredibly effective. Of course, Goons not being able to shoot underneath the dark swarm of Defilers means that if he's able to get to switching whilst Breeze remains on a Dragoon heavy force, then he'll be able to completely wipe this force out. Now there are observers with this force. He would be able to move forward. I would like to see Rennac really being more careful about staying on the Hagon. Looks like he's pulling back a little bit now and making sure that the goons have to fight the remaining Hydras with the Lurkers in the fight as well. But with that observer in the force, it means that the Lurkers are getting wiped out one by one. You really need to marry the use of Hydras and Lurkers together to make sure that they can complement each other well in those moments. Forcing the observer to move forwards, trying to snipe it off, and that whole back and forth play. It looks like the observer taking some damage but not getting completely cleaned up. Some overlords chilling in the natural base. Only a few dragoons left over, but it might be enough for Breeze to wrap this up, as there's not that many Hydras left for Rennac. He was able to increase his drone count at last. But the pressure in the early game meant that he didn't feel comfortable adding more drones until more recently. And of course, Sod's Law, you add more drones and then the Protoss attacks you. So we'll see how this goes. Some Hydras being rallied. There's a huge number of Dragoons right now. Looks like we're still trying to get even Zerling speed at this time and Carapace to enable the use of defilers, but I'm not sure if it's going to come into play at this moment, as the Dragoons are not just knocking on the front door, but knocking on the side door and cramming their head through the window and forcing Rennac to call a GG. Well played by both players. I enjoyed the series. I hope you did too. That brings us to 2-0. Close this. In favor of Breeze for Supply Bot Party. Let's switch scenes quickly whilst I update things like overlays, and in just a moment we'll be getting into the next series of Silverwolf versus Jakester. I just need to navigate myself around a little bit. 2135. So I was somewhat intentional with my selection of these games. I certainly picked a series where there would always be a Protoss involved, so that I could contribute something to the cast that wasn't just, ooh, this is a nice fight. So any Protosses in the chat, I hope you feel well represented throughout the upcoming series. As I shared at the beginning of the cast, we'll be going to Silverwolf versus Jakester now. Silverwolf's Talon, Jakester Protoss. Then Killer Ace versus Tartman, ZVZ. Raz versus Doodle Doodle, PvP. Type 100 versus Worst to wrap things up. So that overlay is now updated, and we'll switch back. Oh, in fact, you know what? I'm going to put you back to the cam just for a moment, as I need to open up that replay, and it shows the duration of replays as they're being loaded, so we don't want to have any spoilers there. Okay, game loaded up. Transition back and get stuck in to Silverwolf versus Jakester, Game 1, the second series of the evening that we're casting. All right. So, beautiful magenta Protoss in the top right-hand corner, Jakester, and in the bottom right, the teal Terran, Mr. Silverwolf, currently in the chat, spectating his games. It was always one of my favorite parts of CPL. So I've been in, I think, 4 CPLs now, and I mean, I used to play Starcraft 2 semi-competitively, never at a exceedingly high level, but enough to, play some official matches, and decided to pick up Brood War, as many people did during COVID, when there was a lot more free time, a lot less outdoor social activity. So I picked up Brood War, and I think it was even Artosis that had mentioned CPL, and I got involved there. And one of my favorite parts of that was always going and watching my games getting casted. So that's part of the reason I'm enjoying doing this. I really wanted to pass that enjoyment on and cast some other people's games, and hopefully, not only make it entertaining, but provide that little bit of enjoyment for those players who are being involved in CPL. Now, of course, CPL, everyone in CPL is always learning, and I love the community that we have of always sharing support, always sort of being available to answer questions. So let's have a quick look at what's going on here. So we have normal 1 gate, SCV be able to scout this, gas going up there. I shared yesterday that I always like to steal gas on a 2-player map. It especially, I mean, at all levels, honestly, less so maybe in tier 0, it throws people off so much. If your gas gets stolen, like, it's not something that you typically play in, like, let's say 85% of matches at least. So when a gas does get stolen, it can throw a whole build order off. So it looks like we only have 1 in gas at the moment. Very important to prioritize getting that factory up as soon as possible. Of course, factory unit's the backbone of the Terran force. I understand that Silverwolf's attention at the moment is being placed on Jake's side of the map, and he's able to get a probe for his efforts. But if that's delaying his gas mining, still only 2 in gas at the moment, then it's not that worth it. More important to make sure you get those vultures up, make sure you get those tanks out. It looks like he's getting ready to build an expansion, maybe factory in the natural, conventional, but completely fine. It might end up blocking the flow of units a little bit, but I think it's okay. But we have enough money right now to be building an expansion, so we should probably be doing so. Of course, conventional build order logic says build the factory and then build the expansion, so we are doing that, even if money was already available. So what do we also have here? Another depot going down, slightly supply blocked, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I think it's just a case of having had attention being pulled on the opposite side of the map, and it does always feel very satisfying to kill an opponent's probe, but as I shared, it's not particularly worth it if it ends up messing up the build. It was only a probe that was mining gas. I don't think it particularly messed up the build of Jake, who's doing a 23 next right on time. He's got the goon going across the map, which should be confirming that there is a CC here. A little bit difficult to do so with the supply depot placement, so I do like this. I was a little bit questioning at the beginning. It looks like Silverwolf has taken that natural factory and is now floating it into his main, so delaying even further the ability to get vultures out on the map, which, if you can get past this dragoon, really just inhibit any pushes from coming out. If you can get mines in the fray and just really enable some scouting. It seems like Jake is being very bold with his next 2 goons. If there had been a vulture out, it could have run around and potentially even just gone straight to the main and done horrendous damage. As a Protoss, you always want to try and keep your second goon at a choke so that vultures can't just run in, but at the moment Jake feeling very comfortable that there aren't any vultures out on the map and that he can just go for some sort of contain. And it seems like Silverwolf, was this the natural end of the game, Silverwolf? It seems like there was a little bit of frustration in this game with how things have been going, and completely understand it. It seems like things hadn't quite been lining up properly, and yeah, that happens sometimes. These games can be very frustrating, especially when we can see how things should be and see how we're not quite aligned with that. Yeah, in general, it's usually worth to, especially in these official matches, just to play out anyway. A lot of the time, you can make a mistake and lean into it. So I forgot to do a macro cycle. I'm going to build another base instead. Or I forgot my cyber core, which sometimes happens. Okay, I'm just going to build 3 zealots and try and make it work. Sometimes we do have to just try and roll with it, but completely understand the circumstance where there was frustration happening with the disruption to the build order that happened, as I shared, I believe, in favor of the attention being placed on the opposite side of the map. Now, I certainly don't think this was over, but it was going to be a tough game without any tanks out yet, but SCV repair is very strong. So, and with the SCV count, the game wasn't over, but can understand that Silverwolf in this case didn't want to continue. So I'll add onto the scoreboard there. Jakester going up 1-0 in the series, and we'll see in just a moment how the rest of the series continues. Let me just switch scene there, avoid the spoilers, and load up the second game. So this is going to be on Deja Vu. Have Silverwolf in the chat sharing that 2-player maps make him feel claustrophobic, which I completely understand. There are much less bases, and you can typically get contained very easily with less sort of paths to escape your base. There's a lot less opportunities to expand outwards as well. We're going into the second game now with Jakester in the top right hand corner and Silverwolf doing something very bold. Floating the command center over. Is this pure frustration from the first game, Silverwolf? Moving across the map with his first SCVs. Now we know that SCVs are incredibly strong units with many more hit points than probes, but I don't know if 4 SCVs are going to be able to beat currently 7 probes. So the SCVs have come across, had a little look, or maybe they weren't even able to scout properly. Maybe some trickiness here. Maybe the CC going to be landing at the 3rd base, just to really confuse Jakester, but a very bold and unorthodox play here from Silverwolf. But nonetheless, hopefully providing some fun. And the most important part of playing a game competitively is to make sure that you're having fun. So if there is a moment of not enjoyment, then of course taking a break is the right thing to do. At the end of the day, this is something that we do in our free time. So making sure that we're enjoying ourselves while playing not only is good for us, but if we do want to sort of keep learning on the game, then oh gosh, Silverwolf, I'm sorry that you felt so frustrated in this game, but these things happen. So I'm going to go ahead and end this replay. I can see that there wasn't much that was going to be continuing from this game. Maybe just finally scouting with a CC and recognizing the location of Jakester. So I'm sorry that you had such a frustrating experience there, Silverwolf, but I hope that If you do take a break, as you've indicated in the chat, that when you come back, I hope you will be coming back to CPL. That you know, you can make sure to focus on the enjoyment of playing. I understand that these games can be very frustrating. Brood War is possibly the most frustrating game that exists, but nonetheless, it's important that we find enjoyment in what we're doing in our spare time. And it's okay if Brood War isn't a source of enjoyment. It's okay not to play it. We should do the things that make us happy. It's the whole point of of how we spend our time, I would hope. So that was Silverwolf versus Jakester. Jakester taking that series 2-0. We're going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then when we come back, we're going to be looking at the opposite end of the scale, the people who have played hours and hours and hours and hours and years and years and years and years of Brood War. Our good folks in Tier 0. We're going to be starting off with the ZVZ Tarpman versus Killer Ace. I got to meet Tarpman in Montreal this summer. We played some practice games and he destroyed me every single time. So a very competent player. Killer Ace I also know well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how these games unfold. I'm going to put a little countdown timer on. And I'm just going to update this overlay slightly. Can I do this? Let me see. Ooh, I think I can do this. 5 on there. Put 5 on it. And yes, so I'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm going to grab some water, go to the bathroom, all those good things, make sure my voice is still good for the remainder of the cast. And of course, we'll be encouraging yourselves to take a little stand up and a break also before we get into Killer Ace versus Tarpman, followed by Raz versus Doodle Doodle, and Type 100 versus Worst. I'm a little bit nervous to be casting Tier 0, as these people are better than me. But I hope that I'll be able to learn something from these games. And so that's probably the approach I'm going to be taking to the cast, trying to understand as much as possible what's going on and identify anything that's interesting and something that we can maybe take home with us and use in our own games. But as I said before that, quick 5-minute break. Encourage yourselves to do the same. I'll be back shortly. I'll try and leave you with some nice music whilst I'm away, in case you do decide to hang around and aren't pulled away to something else yourself. Yes, be right back. I'll see you in a moment with Tier 0 of Supply Block Party versus Chief Clique.